All right, this is Reality Supreme Being, also known as a presidential candidate again for 2012 under the name of His Royal Majesty, that's HRM, Cesar Saint Augustine de Buonaparte. And by the way, when you do a search on my name, you probably won't get past the HRM Caesar before YouTube knows who I am and will spell it out for you, the long name, and you can just stop spelling after the word Caesar. HRM Caesar. Anyway, yeah, it's the 10th of May, and there isn't much to talk about. The only reason my YouTube video, I've made all the comments that I needed to make in the past. Many of my YouTube videos are right. Not enough people care, and certainly nobody who's rich has time to watch YouTube because they wouldn't care. I have heard a story that some political figures have been working under anonymous names on YouTube and Facebook just to see how people react to them, because they don't know who they really are. So you could be talking to the president, the governor, senator. You could be talking to any number of people. Sarah Palin supposedly got a crock in my head. I don't know how that happened. Probably from working all day. Sarah Palin supposedly is doing that, having an alter ego name or whatever. But in my case, I'm not going to get any publicity. I've run for president in the past. The most that happens when you list your name as running for president is during the election year. Maybe some political science classes will call you because they can't. Certainly, Obama or the main candidates won't be answering any of those requests. And usually it's a teacher requesting you to call them or be telephone interviewed or even stop in the school to explain to the class, their political science class, why you think you should be president and so on. It's interesting, but that's about as far as it goes. You might get interviewed like I did by Mark and Brian in Los Angeles. I got interviewed by the BBC many times. International. Been written up in the Honolulu News, the New York Times, the LA Times. I've been in all the newspapers at one time or another. But after 42 videos, you'd think someone out there would feel enough compassion, not feeling sorry for me, but have enough compassion to be willing enough to say, this guy has lived a long number of years. He's been abused over and over again. He's never going to be president. He just wants out of this country. And instead, you people just give me comments like, oh, you're a human being too, aren't you, little man? Some moron said that. I sent him a last message saying, when I was working on my wind machines and regenerating my own power, I was doing things that a lot of people in different neighborhoods were envious of me, and I was very to myself. So naturally, they all attacked me at one time or another, some way, somehow, by making false reports about me and even false police reports. And the stories are so long. They're in, bits and pieces of it are in all of my videos. You just go Reality Supreme Being, look at all the videos, and listen to every last one of them. I told you already in the past that all of my rant and raving is orchestrated, very carefully orchestrated. And in between all those rant and raves are the key statements and even advice, genius advice, on what is really happening in my life and why people attack me. I have a lot of theories, but it doesn't matter whether it's a truth or a theory. When you read a constitution and it says you're supposed to enjoy the freedoms of liberty, you're supposed to enjoy the fruits of your labor. If you've worked all your life, no one has a right to take it from you. And that's what they do here in LA. They take things from homeless. They make people homeless. They don't care about people. Here in LA, that city council and the mayor, they're all jerk-offs. And it seems to me they all have the same disease. Every politician. Once they get into that spotlight, they cut their ties with everybody. Now, that would be the case with me. I'd cut my ties with all the people who've hurt me, who've done damage to me, even people that were in my same category, poor or just like me. If they did damage to me, no, I don't want to talk to them. I don't know why you want to claim I ever knew them. Why? Because these people have damaged me. I only talk with people that have helped me and have not damaged me in some fashion, whether it was physical, monetary, or mentally in some way. The damages, once, I gotta tell you, once you do damages, even if you don't mean to people that you don't even know in a lot of cases, the damages become compounded. It's kind of like putting your money in the bank, and you put a penny in, and the next day you'll get a dollar in, and the next day you'll get it's compounded interest daily. So that means you make a dollar and a penny. Then the second day, it's compounded interest on a dollar and a penny. Then the third day, it's compounded interest on whatever the market is, a dollar plus the amount you've earned in 3 days for keeping your money in the bank, plus compounded interest. So that adds up to a lot of money. Well, in a comparative example, this is how negative crap. This is what you do when you do to people. If you're going to put down Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden, if you go back and search all of the fighting, you'll find out that America, remember I showed you the book in the last video I did, Addicted to War by Frank Dorrell. And if you read that book, very carefully, a lot of historians on the back of that book actually commend that book and advise and give you advice to read it, because it is the true history of the United States. It mentions Chrysler, it mentions all the big three, it mentions the automotive companies, the labor unions, the only thing it doesn't mention is the Bilderberg Group and the Trilateral Commission. But you know what? It doesn't matter what you name them. You should know by now. Even George Carlin made a speech about it before he died. That you are under the government's control. I don't care how much freedom you think you have. You can think all you want to. They are manipulating you. If you don't believe me, go back and read a book called in the 1970s. John D. Marks wrote a book called CIA in Search of the Manchurian Candidate. And in that book, they tell you about Operation Artichoke and all the different operations that they used, putting LSD in people's food without them knowing it to see what it would do to them. Same thing they were doing in the 50s, putting radioactive isotopes in the breakfast food of retarded children in American institutionalized hospitals to see what it would do to them. President Clinton, ex-President Clinton, at the time when he was president, in 1996, launched an investigation into that. Why and how can this country, who calls itself the representative of freedom, pushes it on people like a bully, telling people, democracy is the only way. No, it is not. Let me tell you what government is the only way. And it isn't the government of the minority. The government that doesn't have recessions, the government that doesn't have depressions, the government that doesn't have police states, that don't need police on the street, because everybody pretty much follows the acceptable rules, with the exception of a few, like calling on your neighbor in a neighborhood dispute over nonsense, like what was done to me. I mean, I'm a researcher. I'm an inventor. I build things. When you take that from me, you have murdered me. And that's what the United States government did. The state government did. I went to them to ask for help. I went to churches to ask for help. Nobody helped. Oh, yeah, they said, we can give you a room, a shelter to go to. I'm going, I already have a shelter. I have an antique Brill, 1948 Brill bus, which is now full of holes, windows broken. I mean, I can give you more than, when did I get it? 1985 I got it. And I can give you a running story on who did the damages, how they came about. And most of the damages were from your government, your people, that think that they're doing the right thing by pushing me around. because I have ugly buses, ugly cars. That's all I can afford. You know, I went to church once when I was a kid, and at that time, you know, I was partly, it was Catholic, and I said, I can't come in there. I told the priest, and the priest said, why? He says, because of the way I'm dressed, you know, I don't want to be ashamed in front of God. And the priest said to me, it doesn't matter whether you're poor or wearing rags, the church will accept you no matter what. Well, here I am, an adult, I'm poor, and I'm in rags, living the best way I can in whatever house I can barely afford to get, and I got people on my back calling the city on me and causing me trouble. Instead of finding a peaceful alternative, they found destructive alternatives, and the city compounded the damages on top of it. So that's why I hate human beings. That's why I hate America. I wish a huge meteor would come and just boom, destroy all of America. I don't care anymore. You people destroyed and took 30 years of my life. What do you want me to say? That I like you people? And on top of it, about 20 years ago, I called different countries, embassies. Can I claim political asylum in your country? Because my country doesn't like me, doesn't like the way I do things. And even then I couldn't get out. With what's left of my possessions. Because whatever I possess or possessed then, and whatever little I possess now, which has been taken away from me, a lot of it, that is an example of what I've worked for. And a person is, in a supposedly a free country, should not allow someone's life to be raped the way I was. Obama doesn't care. I call the White House continually until the Secret Service told me, you call the White House anymore, we're gonna arrest you for harassing, telephone harassment. What? I didn't say anything violent, you know. They just didn't want me calling all the private numbers of the White House. You know, these people are sick. The Secret Service, the FBI, the police, Obama, you know, they all need to be, like I said, put in concentration camps. So I can live the rest of my life in peace. Either that, or some rich person like, I don't know, Donald Trump or the Ford Foundation, or I even tried that too. I went to all the foundations. Oh no, you have to fulfill certain qualifications in order to qualify for money. I'm going, I just need money so I can get out of your lousy country with my possessions, because I'm entitled to take what I worked for. These hands are an example. Like the cut on my finger here. That happened today. These hands are an example of how many years I have worked to hold on to my possessions. And your evil, evil laws took everything from me. You used what they call which is against the law supposedly, using the color of law to obtain my possessions. You are evil. Every American citizen that pays taxes, you are evil, because you contributed to damaging me. And you know what? Maybe I hope it'll happen to your kids one day, because you deserve it. I wasn't bothering anybody. And when I even asked for help to get out, no one would help me. Now, one person, I hear all these negative comments come to me at YouTube, but I don't hear one person come, hey, you know, I'm sorry that this happened to you. Here's $1 million. Please leave America. I'd be out of here so fast, you'd make your head spin. And I'd write nothing but hate books wherever I go. I will always write hate books about America, because you can't get, no matter how much money any rich person gives me, you cannot, what I really want is all the years that were stolen from me, all my young years. That is what I want. And that's impossible. You know that, and I know that. That's why you should be careful to interpret the words of freedom and liberty very carefully, and you should be very careful if you're in an authoritative position. You should be extremely careful at damaging people's civil rights. Just because you can get away with it doesn't mean it's right. And just because the law says it's okay for you to do it does not mean it's right. You are evil. The only thing good about any of you is that you have the opportunity now to overthrow the government and put me in charge as its absolute dictator over the president, over Congress, over all the 50 states. Because if you don't, this is going to go to hell in the handbasket real quick. After killing Osama bin Laden, you watch and see. I kept warning the White House, saying, you better be careful how